one of the values that I teach my team, which I wish everybody would implement, is just leave the places you go better than you found them.
This episode is brought to you by Greenskies Analytics, an audit analytics service provider that works with internal audit departments that have data analysts and are still frustrated with trying to make analytics actually work, aren't getting the expected ROI, who can't break through the communication barrier between the analysts and the audit team, and those that need experienced direction for an audit analytics strategy and process. Those that feel like they've wasted time and money on trainings, aren't getting the value they want, not prioritizing the highest risk areas for the organizations, or have projects that seemingly never get completed. Do you deal with any of that? If you do, go to the show notes of this episode and click the Greenskies Analytics link, or go to greenskiesanalytics.com to schedule a call and understand how Greenskies Analytics makes analytics actually work for internal audit. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Audit Podcast. I am your host, Trent Russell, and today on the show, we have Marie Walsh. She is the head of internal audit and risk at Spotify. A lot of times we work in questions based on the guest's passion. So whatever they're especially passionate about within the audit function, that's what we talk about. And so for Marie, that was very much immediately, she said she likes, her passion is helping the folks on their team basically find their path, whether that's inside internal audit or if that means them going outside of internal audit, whatever the case may be. But that's her passion, really helping her people. And so we hit on that and exactly how she does that. Part of that process is with her one-on-ones that she has routinely with her team. And so we talk about specifically what questions do you ask during that process? How do you run that? If you don't have a one-on-one with folks in your team, I'd highly recommend it. Obviously, you have to kind of scale that depending on the size of your team. So maybe that's, you push it down to directors, managers, whatever the case may be. But either way, highly recommend that if you are not. And if you are not, obviously take a listen to Marie's protocol for doing that. And then we talk about, aside from all the usual stuff that we hear that CAE wants, the insights, assurance, all that kind of good stuff, what do you actually want as a CAE? And I absolutely love Marie's answer. I'm sure the board and the executives at Spotify also love her answer. Marie's one of those people, you kind of get a vibe from them pretty early on in doing this and go, yeah, I would absolutely work for you. So I don't even know if Spotify has positions open right now, but if they do and you're looking, I would put that one on your radar. Marie seems like the type of person that we all want to work for. Here we go. All right. What is in either your internet browsing history or your ChatGPT history, your Llama history, if you have a LLM or Gen AI tool of choice, what's in there? What's going on in your world?
So most of what I use it for is to help me make messages I'm writing better. If I have a bunch of bullet points, I think in bullet points, but a lot of people don't want to read messages that are just bullet points. So I use it to kind of help me turn that into a more user-friendly message. And sometimes I ask it, can you make this more exciting? Can you make this funnier? Can you make this more convincing? I think from a silly side, one of the things I did recently is we have an on-site barista, which is wonderful. And they always have a special instructions field because you can order ahead. And so I've been asking it, like, can you give me funny things to put on the special instructions? It's come up with a couple things. I'm still waiting for it to get a little bit better, but I just like that because I feel like those people are working so hard all day long, and like if it gives them 10 seconds of a laugh, then awesome. I've done my part for the day.
Yeah, it's an act of kindness, and I love using it for something like that. That's a really good idea.
Yes. And I was also laughing, and I was thinking, internet history, it's probably shoes. Even though I worked in the tech industry for years, I have not given up my fancy high heels. It's kind of a trademark at this point. So it's just shoes. That's
Okay.
what comes up in my, contextual ads too. It's kind of funny to me.
I can feel the audience pressuring me to ask you this follow-up question.
Oh no.
The high heel from Spanx. Have you seen that? Are you going to buy those?
I have not seen it. My guess is if it's wacky, then I'm not going to get it.
Okay.
I'm very traditional when it comes to my shoes.
It's pretty wacky. It's like it's almost like an athletic shoe with a heel.
Definitely not.
Okay. All right.
Definitely not.
I showed it. I don't know how I came across. Actually, I think it was on LinkedIn. It was like a big story that day on LinkedIn that they launched this shoe. And I showed it to my wife, and she was like, immediately, no, didn't fit her vibe either. Okay.
Yeah.
Sticking to the super serious topics that we have here, emojis in emails. Thumbs up, thumbs down for you?
Thumbs up, but limited. It has to be the really basic ones. It's got to be thumbs up, thumbs down, smile, frown, maybe angry face.
Got it.
I have teenage nieces. I've talked to them enough about other ones that I'm not going to take a chance with anything else. So I would say maybe about 5 of them I'm willing to use. And it's got to be the right audience. With my team, sure. With friends of internal audit and risk, sure. But limited. But generally, yes. I think yes.
Yeah, I didn't think about the risk of, because they mean, I'll stick to smiley faces. Anything else, I feel like there's some hidden meaning that I don't understand. So you're probably right. I'll stick to just the smiley face, the angry face, the thumbs up, the thumbs down, the occasional middle finger. I'm a big fan of that.
No, see, I won't go there. We have them in Slack too, and some of them are customized. So I like some of the customized ones. I like the +1, and then we have one that's kind of the Spotify logo as a heart.
Oh, okay.
And that one gets a lot of use too.
I can imagine.
That's kind of a nice one. So
okay. All right. A little bit more serious. What's analytics look like for your team?
I think on analytics, we have the standard work step that says, have you considered analytics in your planning? But I feel like people incorporate analytics without necessarily realizing that they're doing data analytics. I'm trying to teach my team it's more about using data to support the issues that they found. It's not always about finding the issues, but it's, can you size up a finding and explain why the risk is what it is based on, for us, number of users or number of listening hours that this matters for, or, euros. Let's get the actual facts so that when someone asks us, why do you have this on the report? Oh, this could impact X thousand users or X millions of users. We need to know that so that we're making the right judgment call and pushing management to make the right change based on how big it is. I think we can do things where there's a lot more data analytics that are happening, but our company does a lot of that themselves. So I think the glamour and the mystery of data analytics is a little different for us, just being such a data heavy company. It's more about what analytics from other teams can we use to be part of our audit reports.
Yeah, and I think taking the results, quantifying them like you're talking about, and those are simple data visualizations. Like it sounds like for you, it's probably something over time, or X amount of these compared to X amount of these, or this changed over this. And those are simple Excel visualizations that you can still make look really good. Like you don't need an expensive visual tool for, especially just the audit report piece that you can just slap in there. If you do it correctly, especially if you tell that story with data, they might not even read the rest of it. I mean, if I was flipping through, I saw the graph and went, oh, well, this thing, okay, that's a problem. Yeah, we need to go fix that.
Exactly. And I think that visualization could be incredibly powerful to people, because if you write a paragraph, the paragraph you might lose them in the paragraph.
Mm-hmm.
But in pictures, I mean, that silly thing, picture speaks 1,000 words. It really does when it comes to data, because you see the spikiness, you see whatever's weird about it. But it doesn't have to be data analytics with like a capital D and a capital A. It can be data, just little data.
Yeah.
Like little letters.
Yeah, as long as the results are making an impact.
Right.
That's what I mean. Throw it in a pivot table. Do you get good result? Did you find something from there?
Yes.
Great. That's
Yes.
analytics, in my opinion.
Pivot tables. That's all I need in my life.
Mostly,
right?
I agree. That's the 3 things we teach are basically, no matter the tool, is the functionality of a pivot table, joining tables together, and then using the internet to figure out the rest. And
yes,
that's it. Like that's the ground level foundational for literally every analytics tool that I've ever used. Is I go and figure out those 2 things, and then I just Google the rest and can figure it out.
exactly.
Although your passion is helping your team kind of find their path as it intersects with internal audit. But what do you mean by that? Maybe in a little bit more detail. And then tactically, how do you go about doing that? Especially because I know you have people all over. So how do you do that?
And I've always had people all over. A lot of the jobs that I've had people in different geographies from where I am. But I think as IA is either a career or it can be one or two stops on the journey of your career. And it could be at the beginning, it could be at the middle, it might even be towards the end when you become a senior. I think you interviewed someone, I listened to one of your podcasts not that long ago. She was a CAE of an oil and gas company, and she had come from operations.
She came from, she was geographic information systems, if we're thinking of the same one.
Yes. Yeah. That's who I'm thinking of. And so there's different times when IA can be the right place for someone to be. And like I said, it could be multiple times. It could be at any point in your career. It's a great training ground. And so many of us have come from the Big Four, or we've come from enormous audit shops. But if I kind of stick with the external audit firms, their narrative is move up, become the next level, because their business model relies on that. It makes sense, right? The longer you've been working there, the higher rate you can charge, and you're expected to move up. But to be quite honest, it's not the right career path for everyone who starts out as staff in a public accounting firm. We know that, right? But it's hard to hear that message and then make an alternate choice. So to me, I think it's important to voice that idea to people. I try to be very transparent with the team and say, this is not always everybody's path forever. You can move up linearly in internal audit. Obviously, that's possible. Maybe it's internal audit, maybe it's second line. So that's been my career experience, is moving up kind of second line, third line. But I like to give examples of people who have done tours in internal audit. So you come in, either you came in early in career and then spun out to another role, or you came in and you did a rotation, and the rotation had just it was built in for you to do internal audit. I do this both kind of privately and publicly. So privately in a counseling session, a one-on-one, a skip level. But I also did it really publicly with my team about 2 years ago. We had an offsite, and I asked a past colleague to come in and actually walk through her career path with the team. And she had been in internal audit with me, 10 years ago. And then she ended up leaving and joined, actually I think she started a fraud detection team at one of my jobs. And it was an offshoot of an audit that she had done. So that was kind of a really cool thing for the overall team. And she kind of walked through, what did that mean? And then eventually she got a different role in operations, and she moved up and became a director there. She is now back in internal audit and has taken that experience, as she said, so much that I've learned of being part of operations, coming back to audit will change the way that I direct audits and the way that I want them to happen going forward. And so that's a very kind of business focused way, but other examples that are out there, and this is another one of my favorite ones. I had a coworker here at this company. He was on our team. He rotated out into another part of the organization. And then a few years later, he said, you know what? I think I want to go be a doctor. And yeah, sure. He decided that this was the right direction for him to go. And I was so supportive. I was like, I want to hear all about it. You tell me everything that you need to do. If you need a letter of recommendation, let me know. I will support this. So I think it's important for people to see those examples. I think that's the most important part, because they're not the typical path. So you have to see something to understand and believe in it. And then the second piece is, during my actual development talks with my team, I try to push them to say, if you're not doing this job, what other job at Spotify would you do? And it really freaks people out when you ask them that question. I remember asking a couple of women on my team that question, it was the first time we had a development talk, and they just had, wide eyes. Oh my goodness, why are you asking me this question? And my feeling about it is because no one's ever asked you that question before. And if you've never been asked the question, you've probably not reflected on it and said, do I want to go be an operations manager? Do I want to go be part of the legal team? Do I want to go be a chief of staff? There are all different options that are out there. And it doesn't have to be just, I hop over to second line of defense, or I hop over to accounting, or I hop over to information security. Those hops can be bigger. A lot of things that we do as internal auditors can be spun to be something else in a company. We know how so many different parts of these organizations work. We can fit it in a lot of places, but you have to make that opportunity happen for yourself. So if that's some sort of dream, how do you get there?
I feel like there's probably CAEs listening or hiring managers listening being like, it's hard enough to retain the folks we have already. You want me to coach them out of, it takes a lot of work just to keep them. Now we're trying to get rid of them. How do you kind of balance that maybe in your head, or how, maybe that is the way to ask it. How are you maybe confident or comfortable going, I'm okay coaching you out of this position or getting you somewhere else because I know we can fill your spot easily? Or how does that work in your head?
That is a tough situation. It is definitely harder to do when you have small teams, right? Because I know a lot of audit departments are 4 people, 6 people, and it's a risky maneuver to do. To me, the more people you have that are friends of internal audit outside of your department, the easier your life becomes.
Yeah.
So I should have counted this. I would say I think we have about 5 or 6 people that have rotated out of internal audit from Spotify's internal audit team. And I still consider them kind of friends of internal audit. They may be someone that we don't need to talk to very often, but one of them is now in our P2P team, and I honestly messed up one of my own purchase orders. I was able to, send him a text message and said, can you help me? And that just made my day a little bit easier. But yeah, I think there is that reality of, yes, it's hard to keep people in the door, but it's also exciting to think, do I come here and internal audit is not the only place I could be? I think it's important to work for a company that you want to do what that company does, right? I'm very much like being here. I like the mission of our company. I like that we are helping creators earn money. I like that, since we're both a free and a premium service, that anybody can use our app. You don't have to have money in your pocket to use our app, but you still get the enjoyment of the music and the podcasts and the audiobooks. And I think it's really important that you want that, because then internal audit is not your only place you can be. Maybe I want to be in creator management. Maybe I want to be helping negotiate contracts related to other content. If you're into what we do, it doesn't necessarily matter what part you play in that.
Yeah, and I believe you, because when you and I talked off air, we'll say, and I forget what the nature of the question, what was asked, but you said, I genuinely love working here and the mission. That's what it's about. To me, it's about helping the organization. And I didn't feel like it was fluff, coming from you, or let me say this company lied. I believed you very much when you said it. And so I 100% believe what you're saying right now. For those that are probably just saying that. No, that's not the case. So, I know that's not the case.
No, I mean, when this job came open, and I actually came in through a slightly different role, still within internal audit, but a different role. And I was so excited because I knew the business model. I knew what was happening in the audio industry, because it's been something that I've been interested in for, 25 years. I mean, since high school. So there's a part of me that's just interested in what we do and what is happening in this industry. And I think it would be hard for me to be part of a company that I'm not interested in what we do. Those clients were always hard for me when I was in public accounting, I want to know what the business is, but I'm not that into, I won't say anything so I don't turn off any listeners, but, there are certain things that are just not in my interest set, if you will.
Doesn't make your brain happy. That's what I say. If it doesn't make your brain happy,
yes.
don't do it.
Exactly.
Okay. I know you mentioned your one-on-ones, and I know those are very important to you. I believe you do them quarterly, and I think they're critically important also. Can you help folks understand, to the degree that you can, specific questions that you might ask? I think there's a ton of value in asking a good question, despite what maybe listeners are like, dude, your questions suck. But there is a ton of value in being able to ask good questions. So I'm very curious about that. And then any general themes that you're hearing from your auditors that you might have heard over the past 2 or 3 quarters or so.
First, I always want to know how they are, not how their projects are, not a status report, not what are the findings, how are you? And not just their work life, right? That's the most important thing because we have a relationship at work. That's what we're here to talk about. But I do try to understand a little bit about who they are as a person. But I also try to be incredibly respectful of how much people want to talk about that. A lot of people are an open book. There are some people I probably know more than I should. And then there's some where they don't want to talk about it. And that is okay. But that also helps me know them a little bit as a person. If you're a private person, then that's great. That's all I need to know about you. And I'm happy with that. I might want to know, what's your favorite coffee order? Or do you like cookies? But, I think it's important to know that. And that eventually usually leads back to, how are you doing at work? Is there too much happening? Is there somewhere where you're not getting support? Is there something that you don't know how to handle? But I really try to leave it as an open-ended question. I might even ask something as simple as, how's your work stuff? And that can go in a lot of different directions. I can hear anything from, I'm unhappy with how my SOX testing is going for reasons, I want to get challenged in a new area. Next year, we're going to start, we're doing audit planning or, annual audit planning for next year. They want to know, hey, I'm really interested in looking at this area around content management. So sometimes it comes up there. But one of the best things I heard recently was 2 people are working together on a project and they're peers. But one is the audit leader and one is a member of the team. And the team member said, I really like working with this team lead. He's really organized. I'm learning things from him. This was a great project. And had I not had that one-on-one, I probably would have never gotten that feedback. But that kind of, where you talk about making my brain happy, that made my brain happy. I mean, it's just me happy to hear that, these 2 people are peers and they're learning from each other. And they're having that opportunity to do this on a specific audit that the team leader is a specialist on, the other individual is not. So that's something I keep hoping happens with audits. So I'm hoping I'll hear that more in one-on-ones. But that was, like I said, that was the best thing I heard recently, which was fun.
How long have you been doing the one-on-ones? Less so like how long you've been doing it, but changes you've seen from when you didn't do those to changes you've seen since you started doing those?
So when I first became the head of internal audit, I had a bigger team. And so it was not feasible for me to do one-on-ones with everybody. So what I had originally been doing was obviously one-on-ones with my directs, and then one-on-ones with the next level down, so kind of the senior managers. And then I was alternating quarters where I would either talk to a whole level of people, so all staff senior auditors and then all the managers, or I would be talking to them because my team used to be broken up in business units. So I would talk to the team that focuses on ads or the team that focuses on content. When the team became smaller last year, I changed that. I said, okay, now I'm going to meet with everybody one-on-one. We're just going to make it work. And I think it was really necessary because of the team size change. The team needed more of that face time. They needed more of that one-on-one time. I also think it's really important because I have so many people all over the world. There are some of them that I don't get the chance to see them in person very frequently. I have people who are remote workers all over the US, a couple people in Europe that are remote workers. So I think it's important because you don't have that bump into the hallway time that I would have if we were all here in the same office together. I find that it took a few iterations for people to get used to the meetings, to understand that I'm not looking for a status report. I'm not. I can get that from our work paper tool. I don't want that. I want to know what is going on with this person today, and what is it that we need to do to make things better or different for them, for the team, for the company. They need to have that moment. And I'm starting to see that change a little bit. The team is getting more comfortable with it. And people who were a little bit more nervous about it are getting a lot less nervous. So it's been good to see that as we've gone on. So it's been about 18 months since I've been doing it that way.
Yeah, I could definitely see myself, early in my career, if someone, like if you would have had a one-on-one with me 6 months after I graduated college, I'd be like, I'm not telling you anything. This terrible. But over time, like I could go, okay, yeah, this is genuine, and
Right.
I would imagine pretty therapeutic for them also.
For some people it is.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I would be one of those where
that's
you'd be
okay.
like, dude, shut up. I don't need to know about, how your parents raised you or, anything like that. Like, you go pay somebody for that, like I would take advantage of it.
It's something I listen to it.
I bet you
I
do.
listen to it all.
Yeah.
I'm I don't know, an open mic. I don't know what the right term is on that.
All right. So I was very curious, again, specific questions, if nothing else, selfishly, that I could even take to ask to future guests. So I was excited to hear how you're running those. I hope other people start to implement those, are inspired to, especially if they do have the team size that does make sense to be able to do that. Real quick on that, let me ask this real quick follow-up. How long do those typically last? So that people are going, okay, I've got 20 auditors times this amount every quarter. I could do that.
Usually 30 minutes. Some of them are an hour. I have
Okay.
a couple people that I know I need an hour with.
Okay. All right. Thank you. With all that said,
ones that
your
don't want.
time, I'll throw it to you. The floor is yours. What do you want to leave the audience with?
Thought about this, and for me, one of the values that I teach my team, which I wish everybody would implement, is just leave the places you go better than you found them. And I talk about to the team about this as like in an audit standpoint, but it applies to life, right? If you see trash on the ground, do something about it. I used to work for a hospitality company, and we were expected to do that. If you were in a hotel, it did not matter that you were from the corporate office, pick up the candy wrapper and put it in the trash. And this has been kind of following my whole life. I was a Girl Scout for a very long time, and that's something we learn. You go to a campsite, you should be leaving the campsite better than you found it. Now, to apply that to audits are hard on people. You take them out of their day-to-day, you're asking them questions, you're making them nervous, you don't know what's going to happen, and then potentially at the end, you're going to leave them a list of things that they have to fix. Well, that's kind of stressful, but there's a right way to do these things. You have to go and you have to be pleasant. You have to work with them on a timing. You have to make sure that we're making their process better in a way that's logical to them. So it's not just about the results. It's about how we do our jobs. Do your job with a smile. Be understanding of people's schedules and what's going on with their life. Yes, we have to get the work done, but there's a right way to do it. And, it can be as simple as remembering their dog's name or that it's their birthday or something like that. That makes people's days better in just the tiniest little way. And to your point before, can you make their brain happy? Well, yes, but don't just do that at work. Do that in the world. somebody needs you to help them up the subway steps with their baby carriage, or, we're right down here in World Trade Center. Somebody's lost. You can tell they're lost. Just point them in the right direction. You don't even have to say much. It's such a New York thing to just, you take your earphone off and you go, that way is west, you're with, and gone. And you've just helped that person and made their day a little bit better. So for me, that's the most important thing, is make people's days just the tiniest bit better. And I think it'll do us all a lot of good.
Hey everyone, thank you very much for listening to this episode of the Audit Podcast. Whatever platform you're listening on right now, I'm sure there's a subscribe button somewhere, so please hit the subscribe button there. If you're listening through iTunes or Spotify, feel free to go give us that 5-star rating. It only took me about 16 seconds to give myself a 5-star review, and it really helps to get future guests to come on the show, so we'd really appreciate that. Lastly, be sure to check out the show notes and follow us on all our social media channels, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, and on TikTok. Also, if interested, please sign up for our weekly newsletter from the Audit Podcast. Thank you all. Have a great one.